Lastly, the requester, Mr. Singh, is from Monroe. He does not live here. He is not invested here. He is just coming to take our money and pocket it in his pocket and help his house in Monroe, not in Shreveport. He is not a member of this community. He does not have to look at this. Instead, what I get to do is, as Mr. Arsenault pointed out, is figure out how I have to abandon my home after someone puts a liquor store across from it, if that is the decision of this board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any questions for him?
I have one question. Mr. Todd, and I don't want this to sound facetious, but a few months ago we had a group wanting to put a funeral home there. Just to do what funeral homes do certain times of the week. What was your take on that? I know the room was full. I may have missed you.
No, sir, I was not present. I will say that we were not generally, my wife and I, who is also going to speak in a minute, we were not fully opposed and we were not fully for it. We were somewhat ambivalent. I have to confess, I don't know if it was a change to C2. I have a grave concern about the C2 change. That's the biggest problem. Just like the position before for that piece of property, as they talked about, today is just the zoning request. Then the next time is the site plan. Well, if the site plan is not approved for the gasoline station and liquor store, well, you can still do some other C2 activity, and who knows what that's going to be. It opens Pandora's box, and then one day maybe someone goes for C3. It's just a slippery slope. But this is a neighborhood that has been around. That house that I live in was built in 1924. So 93 years that house has stood there without having to look at a liquor store. That is a bedrock of the community, of the Highland community. And now we want to stick a liquor store and a gas station, boom, right in the middle of the neighborhood, so to speak. It's not on, the other piece of property right here, that is on a commercial corridor. I get it, bang away. But this is not. This is a residential area. There's supposed to be children around here, not the potential for increased DUIs. But sir, I was not, my main concern with the previous development, I don't know if it would have required a change to C1 or C2 or a special use. My main concern would have been, as I kind of pointed out, high schoolers drive and we had to get special restrictions to stop them from parking on that street. I would be worried about traffic. So that would be my main concern with that proposed use last time, would have been the traffic issue. And obviously this will increase traffic likewise.
I appreciate you coming back to the mic. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak in opposition?
My name is Patty Pernisi. I live at 5830 Fern Avenue in Shreveport. I am the owner of the little Chevron station, and it's coming up on my 5-year anniversary, the end of October. And to have this come in right in my face every day, I won't survive. And I have invested everything I have into that place. And I will be, I will have to file for bankruptcy. I definitely lose the property. And I just don't think it's right that, I'm local, been here over half of my life. And I think it's unfair that y'all would just, put a death wish on me for my business. It's not fair. I have the neighborhood people that are coming in. They've signed a petition against it, which I will let them have. And I just, I'm fighting for my business survival. I'm 63 years old. I don't want to have to go through this. This was my retirement. This was going to be where I was going to be able to retire. And now you're going to change this, and next month or whenever they make their site plan, I'll be back right in front of you telling you the same story. Thank you.
Madam, Mr.
Any
Chairman?
questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Andrews.
Any questions?
Let's talk about the funeral home a little bit.
I was there, I was here when that was, and as much as I would love to have somebody in that place, I knew that a funeral home would not be good for the neighborhood. I live, my business is got the best of both worlds. I have Highland on the other side of the street. I've got South Highlands right behind me. And the people I was speaking to, none of them wanted the funeral home because of the congestion of when they're coming out, going to, if they were talking about going down Highland Avenue. Well, you've got First Baptist, you've got a school there, you've got Cresswell, you've got Byrd, you've got all this congestion. And if you think of all the funeral homes in the area, they may back up to a neighborhood, but they're not in a neighborhood.
Then my next question is, what would you suggest go on that corner in that?
I think a little strip center would be perfect, where you could have like a little L shape, and I actually thought about turning that lot that you're trying to see the zoning change back into residential, and put residential back on Atkins. It was in the beginning. 93 years ago, both sides of the street were residential. And, my last name is very, is very well known in Shreveport. My father-in-law moved here in 1928. So there's been Pernices here for many, many years, and the next generation is coming along. And we don't want, we all want to live in a good neighborhood and have good businesses around us. We know we have to have businesses around us. But,
Okay, just food for thought, and I apologize for using up time, because I've asked the president of the Baltimore Neighborhood Association the same question: what do you want in the building? And you suggested maybe a consideration of a strip mall. Then, if that were the case, then there's the opportunity for liquor stores and whatever else to go into the strip mall, depending on whatever is agreed upon when they decide to do it. We're challenged with trying to decide or help neighbors decide what best fits in a community. And I certainly appreciate the gentleman's case. My daughter went to Byrd High School, so it was right down the street. She drove a car and it scared me half to death, and she finally tore it up on Burt Coons coming home. But she's okay. So my point is, when you talk about what goes here and what goes there, it presents a challenge for us as we sit here at this high-paid job that we have to make these kinds of decisions. So whenever you look at a business and you talk about why it shouldn't be there because I have one there already, then it presents us with a challenge of trying to make decisions that are best interest for the city.
Well, I understand
Thank you,
that.
Mr.
I understand that, but you're not taking my position into consideration. You just, I'm already there. I am part of the neighborhood now.
Ms. Dave,
Okay, I know that other businesses, and it might be different for gas businesses, and have you looked into it? Like if you put one restaurant in one area, they want to put another restaurant in that area, like chicken places.
That is
They put 'em
economics
all
101.
around because it increases traffic and it increases everybody's business. Is that the same, or have you looked at, maybe it would increase your business instead of decrease?
No, it won't, because when y'all had the foresight to allow the Circle K to move Catty Corner from where they are into the same block that I'm in, and it has affected me badly.
Okay.
My sales have gone down considerably, and I was never notified about that.
And I have a question with Mark, thank you, ma'am. We're looking, it's not a liquor store, it's a gas station.
It's a convenience store primarily.
Right.
And inside the convenience store, they will probably sell beer, wine, and liquor.
And liquor.
Yes,
Okay.
and the SUP, the specific use permit or special use permit, which would be on the next probably agenda, would be for the purpose of approving the gas pumps and the liquor sales.
The property that the building is actually on now is
Uh-huh.
zone Z2, I mean C2?
Part of that lot is C2 and the other portion is C1.
Okay, so it is where the building is C2, and they're looking at changing it to match.
So it makes sense that the whole, since that parking lot needs to be part of it,
And,
it makes sense to make it all
A
C2.
retail center would be C2.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Let me ask just for clarification. I was on the assumption that it basically is a strip process, because I don't think you can sell the packaged liquor in the same place that is a convenience store. So there must be another section of the strip.
There
that's
is,
just
there
for
is,
that.
yes, sir, there is. There's a wall separation, yes. You're absolutely correct. That rule still is in place, even though it's being considered for
Right.
revision under Chapter 10.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify.
You're right.
Because it sounded like if you could buy this out of a convenience store.
Right. No, you're absolutely correct. You're correct.
I'm thinking, no other questions.
Thank you.
Anybody else to speak in opposition? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Pam Todd, and I live at the property right behind the projected building site here, 503 Atkins Avenue. And I apologize that I'm nervous. I've never spoke publicly before. But I'm here, first of all, as a parent of children and school-age children in our neighborhood. Highland is not a corridor to anything. Highland is a neighborhood, whether it's the Highland area or the South Highland side where I live in. We just happen to have an area of businesses that occupy, I guess, the corridor that they're talking about. And I wanted to point out, this is something that the builder had developed. And if you look, there's an entrance over here off of, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but there's an entrance off of Kings Highway, what they would enter, and this exit right here, and they casually drew like the lane going back out here onto Highland to come up onto Kings Highway. But if you look at this, most people are not going to want to come to this stoplight and get into all of that traffic that is on Kings Highway. What they would probably do, because I would do the same thing, is take a right and exit out through the neighborhood to go, whether it's to their home or to their business or where they're headed. No one wants to stop at this stoplight, because I live here and I see people speeding down this road and tons of wrecks and tons of accidents that happen along that way. And so I'm mostly concerned as a parent. My kids are high school and college age, but other kids that walk to Byrd High School, right over here beside Berkshire's, we have another elementary school. Elementary students use that use the Kings Highway, use Atkins Avenue, come up Highland Avenue to cross over to go to Crestwell, and it's just a very, very dangerous place to rezone something from C1 to C2. What happened? When they projected these gas pumps going here, they wanted to move the store, the gas, the convenience store and the liquor store. This would be the convenience store. This would be the liquor store. Back on the property, so they need to rezone this C1 to a C2 in order to do that. We don't have a problem with it sitting up here on the road. It's what they want to do back here that affects us. They said they would put a dumpster right here in this corner, which would affect our house, because we have to look at across the street at a dumpster. That's the first thing. Another thing, I know I'm running short on time, so I'm going to speak quickly, is that I'm all for business, and I understand that businesses need to come to Shreveport. They don't need to come to neighborhoods. We have a Berkshire's across the street. We have a local business owner who has a gas station right on the other side of the street, and a big Circle K superstore opened up over a block, less than a block away. We don't need this. We do need something there. This is not what we need. No one has a vision. There is a gentleman present, I hope he will speak today, who has a vision. He is renovating. I don't know if you have traveled down Kings Highway, but he's taken almost dilapidated apartment buildings and he's renovating them. He has a vision for a community. There are people with a vision. They just can't afford to pay the price that the property owner is presently selling it for, because they don't have deep enough pockets. This gentleman from Monroe has very deep pockets. He can pay that price. Local business owners can't. That's where the property is because of what they want to do with it. Not for what we desire and what the community needs, is for what someone who's out of town would like to use it for. That's where our problem is. We'd like to see it put to a better use. A liquor store, gas station, convenience store is not the best use. It puts local business owners out of business, and it affects all of us in the community, especially the residents who live behind, whose property values will plummet if a liquor store goes there. So I am asking that you please deny the zoning request change because it will affect all of us adversely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you, Ms. Todd.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ian Cairns. I live at 507 Atkins Avenue, which is directly next door to the Todd's house. For the record, I did oppose the funeral home also. I didn't think it was a good fit for the neighborhood. As far as the gas station, let's call it what it is. We're putting a liquor store in across the street from our houses. I don't know what good a liquor store is going to do to the Highland, South Highland area. You know, it just doesn't fit. We have one of the prettiest streets in town. Everybody takes care of the property. There's just some beautiful houses. It's history. Our house was built in 1925. To ask what to do with the property, you know, I really don't know. I've thought about it a lot. Maybe a police station or a sub-police station, given the crime we have in the city. I know that a gas station, liquor store won't help our crime in the area, which seems to be growing. So I, just for the record, I'm not going to flog a dead horse. We're against the zone change. Thank you. Okay.
Anyone else?
Well, my name is John B. Atkins III. I'm at 235 Kings Highway, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71104. I own 6 buildings on Kings Highway between 231 Kings Highway and 303 Kings Highway. Not including the purchase price, I put approximately $400,000 into those buildings, restoring them. Also in the Centenary Apartments on the Centenary, but 3113 through 3135 Centenary Boulevard, which are very close. And I own 321 through 327 Atkins as well. I'm against this gas station for 2 reasons, basically. I'm with the other people that like to see that portion of Atkins go back to residential if at all possible. But going towards a C2 is definitely in the wrong direction. The gas stations have reached, in my opinion, a saturation point. We have the Exxon up there at Kings Highway and Line Avenue. We have the brand new Circle K, and we have Ms. Pernici's gas station. And it's not, it's not needed for one thing. And we'd like to have more of a diverse street instead of having a row of gas stations. I myself would buy the building if it wasn't priced at $600,000, and I have ideas of what I could do with it, but it would have to be about half that price to make it viable for anything I have in my mind. Any questions?
Ms. Cooper?
Since you have experience developing buildings on there, how do you foresee this split C1, C2 lot? Where do you see it going?
Well, it shouldn't have been done to begin with.
But it is, so
Yeah.
going forward.
Well, like he said, it's a slippery slope. If it becomes C2, then I know for a fact it's going to decrease the housing prices behind it. And I know y'all want to have something there, and y'all don't have, y'all think forward thinking is to go ahead and make a decision and to put something there. That way, that portion of Shreveport's back into usability. But
do you think is it the gas station that's bothering you, or the C2 that's bothering you?
it's a C2 in the liquor store.
So
The miscreants coming over from Highland, there's a lot of people that walk that street, a lot of homeless people. They're not going to sell just Grey Goose. They're going to have Crown Roots. They're going to have cheap vodka there too. And they're going to walk over there to get the cheap vodka. I've been in a physical altercation with a homeless person in my apartments before. I was elated when they put the Circle K on the other side of Kings, because I knew that people walking the Circle K wouldn't be crossing that street.
So have you ever heard anybody interested in buying it and building a house on it?
No.
Do you think that
But
would
just
happen?
because they're not doing that doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. I took a $54,000 house and put $200,000 into it on Kings Highway. I got prostitutes and drug dealers out of another building on Kings Highway. I've increased the rent average rent on those units from $500 a month to $700 to $750 a month because I improved them.
What did you say about, what did you say? Say that again.
What?
What did
He
you say
took a
about
54th,
prostitutes? You said something about prostitutes and homeless something? What was?
Yeah, I
heard
kicked
that.
them out of the apartments I had
Oh,
when I
okay.
bought them on Kings.
Okay, so they were in that property?
Yeah.
Okay, I just couldn't hear you. You were
So-
just talking so fast.
People don't have the patience to wait for somebody else with a vision to change this. 8 years, there's buildings downtown they're fixing that have been vacant a hell of a lot longer than 8 years.
But it does have to make sense for somebody like you to buy that C1 property and build a house on it. And it seems like it's going for commercial property, not for residential property. So would it make sense?
It could be used for well, I'm assuming like where Don's was there, it can be used for parking, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So you can have a C2 use on Kings Highway. There's nothing you can do about that. I don't want to change that to a C2.
So you'd rather have parking there than a building?
Correct. Or to be downzoned to residential in the future.
So down zone is different.
And I'm a real estate agent, you know, commercial just like he is. And, you know, I understand why they want to do this. I'm just not for it.
I appreciate your insight.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Anyone else to speak in opposition? If not, rebuttal?
Wow, that's all I got to say. Here you got a guy at the site plan that we're not supposed to be talking about, rear loading his building, facing the commercial corridor. Okay, this is Kings Highway. I don't care what they think about it. When his great-grandfather developed it, it probably was a neighborhood. Because my great-grandfather lived on Jordan, and now it's a house for, you know, people that can't afford to live in a house, 3 acres. That was the center of town. It started moving down this way. And I hate to beg to differ. Kings Highway is not a neighborhood street, or it wouldn't have 8,000 cars a day going south and north. You know, we can check Creswell, we can check that. It's a ton of traffic for people living down Gilbert, in Paramount Hills, in Spring Lake, going to town. So the neighborhood changed from when his great-grandfather built it. It's now an inner-city commercial corridor. And so when you have construction that's going to look like a house, it fills into the neighborhood. This is what they built on Kings Highway. All right? And that's the wine shop. That's the one everybody seems to be having a big problem with. Well, the city of Shreveport's thinking about getting rid of blue laws where you can sell liquor all the time. And in this area, there's no liquor stores. The closest one is on Thrifty. The Brookshire's on Line Avenue in Cuban. So I have to beg to differ with that point. You know, this isn't like, you know, oxycodone they're selling. It's a legalized substance. That is the inside of that building. That doesn't look like something that it's going to be a low end attracting everybody. But people can come buy what they want to, wherever they want to. We're getting rid of blue laws because we feel like we're regressive. I should have looked this up, but in the city of Shreveport, I don't think there's a dry ward in the entire city of Shreveport. So that would be spot zoning if we put a dry ward right here. So the fence is staying the same. It's a brick fence. We can paint it green, we can put oak trees, or we can go back to the 25-foot cinder block wall and look in the back of that, we can play it green. This is the Don's now. That. We're getting broken into. The roof's leaking. Here's this convenience store. That's the inside of it. Looks pretty nice to me. Here's the one in Monroe. Right across the street from Marie Place. That's kind of what we're going to build there. If the property was bigger, he'd probably put a little strip center, but that takes C2 too. So it's never going to go back. That ship sailed in 1961 when the Mirror Steakhouse moved there, when they built I-20, and that's when Brocata's moved, and that's when Sanson's moved. That ship sailed in 1961. So if they wanted to stop it then, they should have, and that's the other part of his store. So I think it's a great compromise. It's not Circle K. They got a higher end inside their convenience store, and this is going to be very nice. You know, I think it's going to be complimentary. The landscaping is going to be deep, and you're just not going to see somebody else. I mean,
Do your other stores have a gas thing in front of it?
yeah, every one of them. I can show you a picture, but that's it right there, that Chevron. See, that canopy, it's like a normal canopy.
I see it.
We ditched that to be compliant with the neighborhood. Hip roof, shingles, no signage. Trying to downplay everything to appease the neighbors in the back. And I don't think it's going to, you know, lower their property values one bit. You know, but that's my business, and I have 25 years like he does, and nobody's going to come in and buy that and put houses on it. Just ain't going to happen. He ain't selling it for $300,000. That's a whole different story.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Corbis on that rebuttal, on his rebuttal? All right. Hearing none. Thank you.
Thank you.
so much. All right. Questions, comments to commission members of this position?
Yeah. We wrestled with this corner for years and yet, and we talk about one business. Mr. Chairman, to the commission, you know, in view of this, we talked about businesses growing, and we talked about competitiveness, and we talked about how things ought to look or ought not to look. And I think here we are faced with another challenge of deciding whether or not this is going to be good for the neighborhood, or good for the city of Shreveport, or good for the tax thing that it comes in. I don't know how it all fits. Are we against improvements to the city? Are we against improvements to the neighborhood? There's some things in my neighborhood that I probably would not like, and I know there's some things coming. We're rapidly becoming the chicken strip of West Shreveport, but I can't do anything about that because that's just progress. And to bring this to a closure, I'm going to make a motion that we approve this application.
Second. Have a motion by Mr. Andrews, a second by Mr. Remedies. Questions? Hearing none. All in favor vote yes. All opposed, no. Passes. Our next case is item 14 on the agenda, case number C-74-17. Is there someone to speak on behalf of the applicant?
It'll be a long afternoon, isn't it? Good afternoon. I'm Paul Draper. I'm a commercial realtor with Walker Alley and Associates, and I represent Mr. Mansell Holmes on the rezoning of this property. This is I didn't bring any, Scott. I think, Evan, you may have some stuff to show here as we get to that point. Okay, here we go right here. This is 134 acres that was zoned I-2 until earlier this year. It was changed to NA, which is a natural area with the UDC zoning. The property owner was not aware of this rezoning, and I know there was some efforts made to advertise through presentation at the libraries and that sort of thing, but frankly, I'm not sure too much of many of us commercial realtors paid much attention to it, and a lot of property owners did not. Anyway, it has been I-2 for with an asking price of $1,750,000. We have discussed this property with the parish government and the city government and other prospects as well. Both the city and the parish agreed that the property had merits for an industrial park, but the timing was not right for either of them. The city did not have the funds for the project, and the parish had other economic development projects in the mill and didn't feel they wanted to take on anything else. We initiated some new projects for this 134-acre tract late last year, and really they became into reality earlier this year. We asked the NLEP for their assistance, which is the North Louisiana Economic Partnership, and we began to work in with the Department of Economic Development, the LED, to get this site designated as a certified LED site. LED completed their preliminary review of the property earlier this year and decided that it warranted moving on to a complete study to get the site certified. Then in April, a contract engineer with LED was visiting Shreveport and City Hall and discovered that this property had been rezoned from I-2 to NA. LED at that point suspended the project until it could be rezoned back to I-2, which will, I believe, this project will be, if approved, will be done in September. So that's a 6-month delay in our project. NA zoning does not benefit the property owner nor the citizens of Shreveport. The owner felt that the property has been taken without compensation. He estimates that by moving it from industrial to NA, the price of the property, the value of the property probably went down by 80%. And remember, this is a commercial or industrial site, or it was at that time. In addition, elected officials for years in both the parish and the city want jobs in North Shreveport. And this site has the potential as a commercial and industrial site to create jobs. A natural area site does not. We believe that had the NPC staff contacted the owner or myself as a realtor, there's a sign on the property that's for sale. This large tract, it could have been this rezoning could have been restored and prevented without it going to an NA site. There's basically no due diligence done on the NA by the NPC staff. They felt that there's maybe a potential negative impact with 12 Mile Bayou, but then further investigation after we filed for rezoning revealed that it's not an impact of 12 Mile Bayou. As a matter of fact, right across the street from this property, the Caddo Parish Sheriff has the Caddo Detention Center, and then several years ago I sold him some property for the 10.5 acres for the work release facility, and neither of those properties have had any negative effect on 12 Mile Bayou. So we are asking that this zoning be approved. After I've criticized the NPC staff, I would like to pay them a compliment. They have done a tremendous job in preparing for this rezoning, but I spent a lot of hours preparing for it, and a lot of hours that should not have occurred because it just wasn't necessary. Had the right information been provided to the NPC staff, it could have happened in 15 minutes. And I spent no telling how many hours working on this project. So I would like to commend both Stephen and Ebony for their work. They've done a great job in preparing the staff report for you folks to look at today. I'd be glad to, and I request the rezoning back to I-2, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Mr. Remedies.
Mr. Draper, there's been several of these properties that have come to light in the past few weeks that we realize in proposing or voting for the UDC to be sent to the council and to the commission for passage, that I'm not aware of any of the board members or any of the elected officials that intentionally changed downzone these properties. A lot of what we're hearing this come from is from the consultants and the staff, and I share in your philosophy that, you know, when the owner purchased this property, he purchased it at the potential for the zoning allowed for that. And in this case, in this very instance, this property's been taken out of the search with the Louisiana Economic Development and things like that. And those are the things that a lot of times that maybe a bureaucrat don't see, that a commercial realtor or commercial developer or landowner may be negatively impacted. And that hurts our city way more than someone having a green space or a park or something like that, which I don't think is as valuable to the city, certainly as an industrial park where people can get jobs and we can try to solve some of our problems with funding and all. So I'm glad you were the first one in line to get your property back rezoned. I agree with you that it should never have happened. I've asked for a list of properties that have been downzoned and have met that with resistance because we want to try to look at these properties and see if there's something that we need to do to prevent something like this. And sometimes I feel like I scream from the mountaintops that this is the type of things that'll happen, is it takes it out of the search process when people that are charged with bringing jobs to our area, and then sometimes it's diluted or
Well, I meant no personal attacks on anyone. It wasn't anybody personally doing this. It was a process. You know, maybe some consultant, I'm just getting from Chicago, was looking at a map like this. He said, "Oh, there's a big green area. It's probably not being used for anything. Let's make it a natural area." And that was all well and good, and it was probably a good decision that you could do these without notifying the proper owner. And it was legal to do it that way, but it may not have been the right thing to do.
Oh, I agree, and that's
and you just spent a few minutes. Hey, why don't we drive by the property and kind of see what's going on?
Yeah.
I'm a big believer in looking at property. As a matter of fact, some of this property I sold as I was a real estate manager for CenterPoint Energy, and that's when I sold to the sheriff and so forth. And then I retired from that job, and I still do a lot of work for CenterPoint. So I sold in the 134 acres to Mr. Holmes at one point. And and sometimes, as they used to say in the company, if you want to know about a piece of property, call Draper, because he's been there, he's seen it, he's got boots on the ground. And I'm a firm believer that you can't make decisions on real estate looking at a computer screen. And I'm afraid that's probably what happened.
Mr. DeMonte?
Yeah, just so you know that in conjunction with Mr. Remedies, what Mr. Remedies said, there was a very delineated process that the staff and everybody else, and we all each individually voted on to approve. And it was very thorough. And
I can believe that, yes.
And there was nothing intentional.
Yeah.
And there's thousands and thousands and thousands of property.
Yeah.
And so we went, the staff went down a list, and you're welcome to state some of those things that the staff went through and the consultants went through to do that. So this huge, big undertaking that this city and parish, the Unified Development Code, so desperately needed, because it hadn't changed in 27 years.
I agree.
Things are going to happen. We do have processes, as you're going to see, that when acts, and inadvertently somebody gets downzoned, that we have processes we follow and to get it corrected. So we're sorry if it caused you any grief. I don't think we're not going to charge you or anything like that.
And I appreciate that too, yeah.
So,
the-
things are gonna happen on these big
Yeah.
projects and things. I don't think anybody can do anything 100% perfect, even though we try.
That's right.
Thank you
I
for
had
your
a couple of good
patience.
meetings with Stephen, and one of Evan was in on the conversation, and they were very helpful too. And, my whole point was like, when you got this large a tract, somebody should have said, hey, hold it a minute,
Right.
let's go take a look at this and do a little more investigation before we vote.
In hindsight, that would have probably been the better
Yeah.
thing to do.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Good. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Just before you leave, get your address for the record,
Pardon?
your address. when you-
Oh,
you
I'm sorry.
introduce yourself.
315 Fannin, in Shreveport, 71101.
All right.
And the company is Walker Alley and Associates.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I
Thank
think
you
it's
very-
been said, at the risk of being redundant, again, we certainly offer our apologies for what I guess is an oversight in this process, but I do think appropriately, I believe, one of the things that's happened is that there's a reimbursement of whatever it is you did pay.
Yeah, we
There's-
appreciate that.
there's a check
Yeah,
coming
very
to
much.
you.
Thank you.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chairman, before you leave the podium, I ask you one more question.
Sure.
We need to know how to get in contact with you, just in case there's some other properties in the city. You said ask Draper.
Yeah,
Can we do that in the
I
very
can.
near future?
right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right.
Motion to approve.
Second. I have a motion by Ms. David Matua, second by Mr. Andrews to approve. There are no questions. All in favor vote yes. All opposed, no.
Oh, was there any opposition?
All right, that passes. Our next case is item 15, case number C-76-17. Is there someone here to speak on behalf of the applicant?
This one we've been looking for, the last one. Andy Craig with Moore and Associates, 1324 North Hearn, Suite 301, Shreveport 71107. Here to represent Linwood Development. Before you is an extension of the Brushy Bayou subdivision. It's at Kenny Road in Linwood. It's been developed in several stages from the east, as you can see there. There you go. And we would like to complete that block of lots there to the west. And it had previously been zoned commercial. We'd like to rezone it back to residential, to the R17. The idea that we would like to do is to complete this portion of the development in a like manner as it has been developed previously, all the other lots from Linwood there. That means it's not completely compatible with the current code, but it's pretty close. But to keep the continuity of the neighborhood and the development, we would like to do that. And the previous development was a PUD, and so we'll be required to need to do the PUD here. And so to get the PUD designation, it's been requested that the developer provide some amenities, and the basic amenity that we're going to offer is a park area there. You can see right here on this plan. This is already an existing detention basin, and this has been designated a park in the approved master plan years ago. And yep, there's the particular park plan. Let me show you this first. This is there you go. This is a current aerial from Google Earth showing where the 6/10 acre park is. This is the existing detention basin and the existing development. They keep it mowed. It's very well maintained. The park itself is not improved. It's just, right now, it's just a little batch of woods there. So we would like to offer that as an amenity, and Ebony had shown here, we'd submitted this park plan and with some detail, and here I'll have to apologize to the staff. I was out of town. We were working this up basically by email in a hurry. So there's some stuff got on here that was not really intended. For instance, the fountain shown there was intended to be the existing fountain that's already existing in the detention basin. It's functional, it keeps it aerated. It is also aesthetic, but it's mainly to keep it from being stagnant and keeping it aerated. So anyway, that was not intended to be in the park. Also, the trees there, you see they're labeled with the type and all. Well, what we would like to do is try to keep as many of the existing trees as possible. It's underbrush it, cleared out. Some of them are significant trees. We don't have many yet because we hadn't gotten in there to be able to identify all of them. But we want trees in the park, but we don't want to have to go take these down, plant foreign species or whatever. So we would like a little latitude on the park, improvements of the park. So we're not really ready right now to commit to all of these amenities. Let me also add that generally, of late, developers are reluctant to go spend money on amenities like this for homeowners associations to any extent. What they found is that just because they put it in there doesn't mean the homeowners are going to use it. It's going to be theirs. It's going to belong to the homeowners association. They're going to have to maintain it. But, the old saying is you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. We can put all these in there, but that doesn't mean they'll be used. What has been successful is to provide the basic area. Some may be basic amenities, but let the homeowners association finance and put in here what they want. It might be a pavilion, it might be a walkway. They may have some other ideas that they really want to use, hot dog grill or whatever. So we would like to have some latitude and not be in the development of this park and provide amenities and not be tied to these as they're laid out in the staff report. Possibly what we could do, we will have to be back to you with the subdivision plat for this Unit 8. I think it may have already been submitted. I don't really remember. But we would be willing to work with the staff on what we could do for that park at that time, some specific use, and tie it with the subdivision plat rather than the zoning,
The
rezoning.
problem is I can't do it that way, Andy.
Okay.
It has to be with the PUD, and everything you've just told us, this is the first time we've heard it, okay? And so that creates a problem. So in our communication earlier, we were saying we need to nail these down because we do that with every PUD. Now it's kind of up in the air. So these amenities have to be nailed down in order for you to get the ordinance relief that you're asking for.
Right.
So
I understand that.
if you're wanting to make that many changes, then we probably, my recommendation would be to defer this case to the September meeting. Because I can't answer those questions in this meeting. And there's no way I can nail it down. And it has to be a part of the PUD. So everything that was given to us just a few days before the meeting, before we sent out the packet, was what we were told. And that's why we nailed it down.
Sure.
Now everything you're telling us is completely different. So we're gonna have to sit back down and go back over that again. So,
Well, we still have to come back.
but I can't tie it to the plat. I have to tie
Right,
it to
but-
the PUD.
But we would have to be back next month with a plat anyway, so I don't know that it would slow down the
It wouldn't.
developer's
If
plan or
you've got
not.
your plat already in the pipeline, we could defer this to the September meeting if they wish to, and get all those components worked out before we come back in September. And that's your choice, but I'm just saying, at this stage, the staff would be very, very reluctant to accept what you've said without seeing stuff on paper and things tied down.
would there be a way to negotiate with y'all these stipulations for the amenities?
Sure, if we go back and revisit it, we can sit down and kind of start from square one and try to figure out how all the pieces come together. That way it'll give the board a full, complete view of exactly what those amenities are.
But there's not a way to approve it today with,
No, sir.
with y'all's help in working out the amenities?
There's no way I could, because part of this negotiation is you get ordinance relief with providing amenities.
Right.
But you can't leave it open-ended, because what they approve has to be a part of the ordinance that nails down those amenities.
Well, I think probably we would be open to deferral so that we can,
That's what I would recommend, and that way it'd be fair to y'all and it would work for them.
yeah, because the developer's obviously not opposed to the park. It's shown in other layouts.
Right.
But, and there's some things we know we need, like the fence.
Right.
We want to fence it. The walkway, we're not sure about, and the pavilion, because those are rather expensive to throw out there just
Right.
on the chance that the people won't use it, so.
Sure, I understand.
So I think that probably would be best to defer to next month, and we'll get the plat application in. We can do it all at one time.
We can do that, work with you, yeah.
Any questions after all that?
That's good, thanks, Mr. Craig.
See what happens when you go on vacation?
Right.
The world falls apart.
Anyone, I think that's it, Mr. Craig. Anybody else here to speak in support of the application? The opposition to the application? Any opposition to the application?
My name is Michael Whitaker. I live at 9243 Mykonos Trail, 71106 here in Shreveport. I'm not saying that I'm in opposition to anything that he said. Matter of fact, I'm for enlarging the community. I would like to see it grow. At the same time, he's talking about the park. I know a lot of families are moving in now. Excuse my breathing, my lungs are bad. They would like to see a park because a lot of people have young children moving into the neighborhood. My house is directly behind the pond, and they come back there, they fish, the young kids and the older folks. They go through the area that's designed to be a park area. They're looking forward to it. I think the more they put into it, especially for younger children, the better it would be. But one of my gripes that I would say that I have is that they have a pipe lying on the back side of the pond. It's, I guess, about 8 inches in diameter. And from the main street in front of me on Mykonos Trail, they have a drain. All the water from the neighborhood comes down to that main drain, and it goes into that pond. They do have a sewage thing right next to it, where sometimes the sewage does come up through that drain and goes into the drain that goes to the pond. Sometimes when it floods, the pond and all do flood, and it's caused my house to flood, my driveway. My daughter, she had to call in to work several times because she can't even get out the driveway because it's flooding. I've talked to people about it, trying to get things done about it, but there's nothing being done about it. And I'm hoping that when they do this new construction coming through that way, when they move the dirt trail that's in the street, hopefully it will help my problem with the flooding. But that is my main concern right now, is the flooding situation there. I've been living there over 4.5 years now, and I've been dealing with it for that long. So I'm tired of it. I have to go out there sometimes in my condition, water up to my knees and below and above, to try to clear out the drain, but the drain done got so bad where that the back part of the pond won't drain fast enough to let the water out, to go back out from the water coming in the front. So the whole, I had pictures, my wife had pictures, that the pond would flood so that it became a part of my backyard. You couldn't tell where the pond ended and where my yard began. It would come to the back door. I had stuff fixed and stuff around it. It still gets into my driveway. I got bags out at my garage now for whenever it rains, you know, to have them already ready to put out and stuff to keep the water from coming into the house. That's my biggest concern. I want to see the community grow. I want to see the park. I want to see a lot of progress made. But my concern is about my property and a couple of others that's nearby me that sometime may be subject to that. Now, like I say, the main drain is about 3 times the size of the one that it got water going out of to control overflow. And it keeps water in it, about 6 inches of water, and there shouldn't be no water in it. But it keeps water in it. What they need to do, I believe, is to build another drain on the backside of that pond somewhere where that water could go, where it could come out more fast than what it is, because the water's coming out a lot faster down the street and through the main drain than what the small drain can handle. It's 3 times the size, but that's my concern about that happening, to keep the flooding down. Thank you.
All right, rebuttal.
We weren't the designers of any of the previous units. We're not aware of any drainage issues there. And right now, we don't have enough detail to address it, but certainly when we get into the drainage design, street design, all that, if we're aware of any existing problems finding, we will certainly try to address those, because we don't want to have any ongoing conditions like this gentleman has talked about.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Young.
motion to approve the, Mr. Craig's request to defer.
Referral?
To defer. No? Yeah, he requested.
Defer and continue.
Yeah, defer and continue.
I have a motion to defer and continue from Mr. Young, a second from Ms. Desmartu. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor vote yes. All opposed, no.
Mr. Chair, would you please indulge the, I think his name was Michael something? What just happened? The gentleman?
Oh, yes, Mr. Whitaker, it will be, this case will be deferred and continued until September, so we make no decision on it today.
Okay, will I get another letter in the mail for when the next meeting will come?
No.
No, but that meeting will be September the 6th at 3 p.m. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Young. The next item on our agenda, number, it's item number 16, case P-17-17, proposed amendments to the UDC, Caddo Parish UDC. Mr. Sweeney?
Yes, sir. I'll make this quick and brief. The purpose of these proposed 11 amendments to the proposed Caddo Parish UDC are revisions as requested by various Caddo Parish commissioners. Their amendments aim to revise the use standards and definitions for live entertainment and ancillary use, reception facility, restaurant, and also to update regulations allowing for expansion of places of worship and manufactured homes. Staff has no issue with the vast majority of these recommendations for change. The only one that the staff feels is inappropriate is amendment number 1, and that's the one that would change allow a fact that you have to have a special use permit in C2, C3, and C4 for the live entertainment component that we talked about during our lunch meeting. We feel like if we remove that component, then you leave the adjacent single-family and other residential type neighborhoods that may be near a C2 property vulnerable to a use that could be very obtrusive and generate tremendous traffic if it's for a full-fledged entertainment venue. We would recommend that that not be approved and that the other amendments that have been requested be approved or recommended for approval. Once you have taken a vote on this, this will go back to the Parish Commission in one of their meetings in August, and the intent is for them to take a vote on these amendments along with the entire UDC that will stand alone in the parish as their own separate UDC. And the hope is that if they do take that affirmative vote, then this document or the new UDC could likely be in effect by the first part of October. We'll have to work out those details with the parish attorney and assistant attorney to verify that.
All right. Any questions for Mr. Sweeney with reference to this, the UDC amendments, Mr. Ramirez?
Yeah, I've heard several times come from various members of staff and the board about while there's everything in the UDC wasn't all things that I like, we kept hearing to go ahead and pass it and address things as they come up. So I would be in favor of passing it, all of the amendments as requested by the Caddo Commission, who are our legislators, because we don't want to continue to hold this up. I mean, I'm using the same argument that was used against me on several different instances. So I think that rather than hold it up and delay the progress again, we pass it, and if there's a problem that arises, then we can deal with it at that time. But you know, sometimes these reasons only seem to fit whether we like a bill or a proposed amendment or not. So that was my comment.
Ms. Dave Martell?
Yes, could you go over, staff recommends denial of Amendment 1? Can you
Yes.
go over it again more clearly for me on
Sure.
why you were denying that use?
It's not recommended by the MPC staff. Our research shows that live entertainment ancillary use is something that should require a special use permit and public hearing in order to alleviate its impact on the property and the surrounding properties. The uses, activities, components, and attendance and unique circumstances of the event are all contributing factors that need to be evaluated before any decision is made on whether or not the venue should be allowed to have live entertainment as a special use. Allowing it as a permitted use, as previously stated, would mean that regardless of the venue, the size of the venue, the activities, the components, the attendance, therefore the traffic, and unique circumstances surrounding the event, as well as regardless of the surrounding area, would be permitted by right, giving the adjacent properties no opportunity for consideration of their concerns. Furthermore, a special use permit would allow the MPC staff to further evaluate the features of the operating characteristics that are requiring special consideration and conditions so that it may be designed, located, and operated compatibly with the neighboring properties. Bottom line, it would give you, the board, the opportunity to add on additional specifications or stipulations. You heard two cases today of a similar nature, both C2 zoning requests. Because they require a special use permit for the things you were asking for, it would allow you to close access points or create additional buffering or limit maybe even the hours of operation. If you have a special use permit, you have a venue or opportunity to do that. If you simply allow it by right, it's there, you have no control, there's no way to buffer the situation.
So you're saying that we're protecting the neighbors surrounding
Yes.
this particular thing.
That is correct. And gives them an opportunity in a public
We're
hearing.
not saying that we're denying it, we
No.
just have more control or more,
That's
we can
right.
put buffers or whatever.
That's correct. That
So-
gives you the chance for that.
In other words, for the greater good of the community and the surrounding community.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Question, but I think she's on there first.
Mr. Young,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not, I was hoping that we would have an elected official here to elaborate what his intentions were or are not on this, but given the scope of the fact that we've got a UDC sitting in the parish hands and then not approved it, and they sent these recommendations back to us as a collective board, it's my interpretation that they want these, and they own them. We're the recommending body and they own them. And I wish that particular commissioner was here so he could give us a more in-depth and perspective about it. So my bottom line is if this is what they said they wanted, and they send it from their board to our board, then I'm gonna have to honor what they want. And because the greater good of the whole of the UDC to get passed and be put as approved in the parish, sometimes you gotta make compromises, sometimes you gotta live with stuff that's a little outside the scope of what you might or might not, based upon what I hope would have better interpretation of, or at least intent from that particular commissioner. But he's not here. So if we're gonna vote on it today, I've gotta honor their wishes. They sent the recommendations down to us. So that's kind of where I'm leaning.
I would like to, can I add one little thing just to help y'all understand? If you make a recommendation, let's say, for everything other than Amendment 1 today, the other amendments would have to be voted on by the parish commission because they've never actually voted on this yet. So it would take us a vote of 7-5 for them to be approved. If you voted against the one that we recommend you vote against, it will take a vote of 8-4 to approve it by the parish commission. So all it does is takes a supermajority on their part. They can always turn something down, they can delete something, they have that opportunity. So your recommendation is merely a recommendation. They get final say.
Did they vote on these recommendations?
Well, they voted to send them to us. They didn't vote on the recommendations.
Okay.
So you gotta remember, that vote has never been taken yet. So we don't know if the vast majority of members will vote for these or not.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I just want to say for the record, we have 12 amendments, none with any specific commissioner's name attached to them. They just come from the commission in general. So
Okay.
I think we had at some point talked about a separate case that's really not captured per se in this. So I just wanted to be clear that it wasn't, I didn't want to isolate anybody.
No. I was just, whoever is this, there's a desire, I wish they were here.
Sure,
So I could understand their desire a little better than
And
just seeing
I
it
do want to
right.
be clear that they did vote to send these to the MPC board. So there was a vote taken. I don't want to make you think that there wasn't. It's just that when it comes back to them, they actually have to take a vote on these amendments, whether they actually become part of the UDC or not.
Right. Mr. Ramirez.
Well, the first line of what we have in our packet says, below is a summary and explanation amendments by the Caddo Parish UDC proposed by Commissioner Dominic, Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Lynn. These amendments were endorsed by the Caddo Commission on July the 6th. So the comments we previously heard may not be accurate with no one put their name on them. They specifically put their name on
I don't see a name back. So example, we refer to number 1. Do we know who that was? Because I don't see it attached.
That was Commissioner Lynn who.
I'm saying, we have,
number 1, yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is, I didn't know, I can see the 3 names here, but it'd be different if it says number 1, recommended by Lynn, number 2, recommended by John. That's not what this says. It just
Right.
says 3 people recommended 12 things. And I just didn't want any particular one person called out and named about just one thing.
I got
And he
you.
may have been interested in more than one.
That's correct.
So I didn't want to I don't think that was fair
I hear
to
you.
them.
I hear
That's
you.
all I was trying to do.
I understand.
Mr. Chairman, is the motion in order?
Oh, wait, I have a question.
No, we still, Ms. Cooper was
I
up
just
to
have
speak.
a question, you might not be able to look this up. I'm trying to look at Bozier's UDC right now, but I can't find any. Do they have a comparable C2, C3, C4?
I would have to go and look at that.
Okay, I'm just
I
wondering
don't
what
know.
they allow.
We-
Because I don't want to, I'm just curious, I could see how a lot of people could be affected by this, and I haven't looked at it.
But I think you need to understand, and maybe I need to clarify this. currently C2, let's say like Superior Steakhouse is C2, you can have entertainment already there by right. It just can't be an entirely just an entertainment venue where you sell tickets and generate traffic and congestion over an activity of that sort. But if you have a guitar player, a piano player, or even a little band that's over there performing during dinner, that's allowed by right in C2 as we speak. That's not taken away.
Right, I understand that.
So what we're talking about is something that would be a actual entertainment venue where you would have advertising and you would sell tickets and you would basically generate that being a venue for a full-fledged entertainment setup.
What's an example of a C4 of a business?
C4 is for your heavier commercial uses. It includes such things as your Home Depots and your Lowe's.
Okay. So right now, you have to have a special permit to get live entertainment at a Home Depot?
But you still have to have a special use permit in the C2, C3, or C4, yes. That's the way it's written in the code as we speak, or what has been part of their package to begin with.
I would just like to know if that's similar to what they do in Bossier, just because that's our closest identifiable metropolitan area, and everybody seems to think they're doing it so great, so maybe we should look at that, because this is not completely clear to me. I don't know the implication. I'm not an urban planner, I'm not a professional, I don't really know what I'm gonna be throwing onto my neighbors here.
Okay, so this actually protects your neighbors, and number two, you gotta remember 94% of the parish's territory is zoned RA agricultural.
Oh, that was my
zone.
other question. Does this just apply outside of the city limits?
Yes, this is just outside.
Okay, so
and-
this is not gonna affect anybody in the
No,
city
not
limits?
inside the city
Okay,
limits,
okay.
yes, and so you gotta understand,
Yeah.
we virtually
They're
have
mostly
no
RA.
uses like this out there in the parish. We have some, but not very many, because I don't know of many full-fledged entertainment venues out in the parish, but there could be, but they're likely not even in the zoned areas of our territory.
Used to be called jig joints.
So this has no impact on the city whatsoever.
Okay.
Call for the question.
No
Mr.
other,
Chairman.
no other questions? Yes, sir.
My motion is to approve the recommendation of the staff with the exception of item number 1 or proposal number 1 or matrix number 1, whatever you want to call it.
And I make a substitute motion that we approve all.
Let me see if we get a second
requests.
for that first.
I'll second.
Have a motion by Mr. Andrews, a second by Ms. Martu.
And I have a substitute motion that we
Remedy.
approve all requests as written by the Caddo Parish Commission.
I have a
So,
substitute
second.
motion by Mr. Remedies and a second by Mr. Young to approve all. On the substitute, any questions? None. Let's vote on the substitute motion. All in favor, vote yes. All
Wait.
opposed?
We're voting
We're
on
on
this
Substitute motion.
which is to
To
approve
Approve
all
everything.
four.
Approve
Okay,
everything.
gotcha.
Approve it as the camp.
All right. It's 3-4, 3 against. Now, let's, it fails, and so we have now the original motion on the floor, which was Mr. Andrews. Any questions? All in favor, vote yea. All opposed, nay. Should have the same way,
That's what,
I think it passed by default last time, Mr. Chair.
that's what I'm
right?
I think it passed by default.
What did?
No, it's three.
The original
There's
motion?
3-3. You have to
3-3.
have
You still have to
four.
vote.
You have a fourth floor.
You still have to vote on the motion.
The commission has the right to accept it or not.
3-4. So that motion fails as well. So, yeah, but it can't pass by default. We have to make a decision.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
since it can't, it's not going to pass either way, I make a motion to defer this to the next month's meeting. 'Cause, I mean, what else are you going to do?
Full board.
We can sit here and argue for 3 hours and it's going to
I
change.
need a second.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Remedies, a second by a motion by Mr. Young, a second by Mr. Remedies to defer to the next meeting. Questions? Hearing none, all in favor vote yes, all opposed no. Passes 4-2 to defer. All right, our next item is item number, that's the end of our public hearing. The next item is item number 17, the presentation and approval of proposed 2018 annual budget. Mr. Sweeney?
I will try to make this a quick and brief thing, because I know I've already actually talked with all of y'all at our meeting and at lunchtime, but I will quickly go over. You have a copy of everything that I'm going to be talking about that's in your binders. What you have before you today is a balanced budget. It has been recommended by the Budget Committee, a vote of 3-0 to approve this proposed 2018 budget for the MPC. Please note, I'm going to just make some highlight statements here. The city's subsidy of $1,083,400 will remain the same as it was in 2014, 15, 16, and 17, and we are not asking for any additional money. The subsidy from the Caddo Parish, we're assuming, will stay the same at $217,580. Based upon the approved new UDC fees for the city, and the fact that there's been some changes in terms of applications, because we have different applications with the old code versus the new code, we are still going to be able to have a very moderate increase in revenue of roughly about $8,400. A very key component that will play into this that I can't present to you today but will be available in September is that we, if you recall, that we approved a budget amendment that allowed us to fund a financial sustainability study for the MPC, the first time ever in the history of this organization. The purpose of that study was not only to evaluate our benefits and our retirement program, but to actually come up with facts and figures and information that accurately will project what the proportion of funding should be from the city versus the parish. That's the $64,000 question, and I don't have that for you today because that study will not be completed until the end of this month. I intend to present that to you hopefully by our meeting in September, and it will become a valuable tool as we negotiate with the City Council later on in October, November, December timeframe, and will also be a valuable tool in presenting the facts and the information of that report from our consultant to the Parish Commission. So that's something that you do need to be aware of. We do say that there are invariable factors, which is the Shreveport 2017 revenue decline is still there. We know there will be a 5% increase in health insurance for 2018. There will be a scheduled 2% increase in the ERS retirement contributions for 2018. And for the first time, the MPC employee parking will have to be paid for by the MPC. That represents a $3,900 increase over last year. Heretofore, they were being paid for through the city. I will bring it to your attention that there, in your packet here, there is a pie chart that basically shows you the revenue structure of our organization. It's always important to note for people that are interested in this, our sources of revenue as of today, or what will be in 2018, is 66% comes from the city of Shreveport, 13% from Caddo Parish, and 21% from the user charges, that is the application fees. I will bring it back to your attention that we do not retain the application fees from projects that are in the parish. We return those fees every year, roughly about $30,000. So therefore, that actually plays no part in our budget. The uses of the funds are as follows, as not much of a surprise here. 93% is personal services. That's primarily people's salaries and benefits. The remaining is a much smaller piece of the pie, the 7% being contractual services, materials and supplies, improvements and equipment. So therefore, you can see, as with most organizations, it's personal costs that are the driving mechanism for our budget, and has been for each year that we've reviewed and approved a budget. Please note that there have been, one of the things that was approved when we had our budget approved back by the City Council in 2007, it included the 5% ERS increase that never did materialize. It also included the staff reorganization where we had 3 positions we were going to have to downsize and lower the salaries. That never happened either. But however, that was the budget that was approved by the City Council. That gave us the flexibility to be able to do the budget amendment that we talked about, and we're able to do the study that I mentioned to you earlier. Basically, the other thing I want to bring to your attention is that Most everything is pretty consistent in terms of being a very conservative budget, fiscally conservative and prudent. It does include the plans for staff travel as well as board travel in your packet. Staff travel, if you will recall, we will be hosting the 2018 APA State Conference in Shreveport in 2018. That'll be in October. And so that gives us an opportunity to stay closer to home for a lot of our training for both our city, for both our staff as well as for the board. The national conference is in New Orleans this year, also closer to home, of a lesser cost, and we'll be sending a certain number of staff members as well as board members, that being limited to 2 board members going to the national conference in April of 2018 in New Orleans. Those are the main factors in terms of the budget. The budget, as I said, is very well put together in terms of how it functions, and I am recommending to you as a staff member and also offering to you the recommendation from the Budget Committee to recommend approval of this budget, which will then I have to submit to the CAO on August the 11th. And then we will see how negotiations go with the City Council going forward.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sweeney. We've heard the budget presentation. I just want to say on behalf of the Budget Committee, we met on last week, and Mr. Young, Mr. Andrews, and myself, along with Mr. Sweeney, and as a committee, we recommend the approval and passage of this particular budget from our Budget Committee perspective. So just want to offer that to you today. Maybe it'd be more appropriate for one of the Budget Committee members to make the recommendation, and then we can have ensuing questions at that point.
We're gonna do that like we did this. Mr. Chairman, motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Mr. Andrews, a second by Ms. Ms. Cooper. Now, questions?
I have a question. So on this sheet, it shows there's $9,900 for travel, but on the spreadsheet we were provided for 18, it shows there's $11,800. Where's the discrepancy come from?
Is there something, Mr. Sweeney, he says a $1,200 difference? I think my math is correct, that Mr. Ramirez is asking about.
And then which form are you making?
I'm looking at page 3 of 4 on the horizontal spreadsheet. The bottom line for 2018 says $11,800 for 2018 for travel.
Yes.
But on the sheet, the other sheet in our packet, it shows $9,900. Am I looking at this wrong? Or
No, look at training, drop down to training is the actual line item. The one that says travel, that's just really what we charge all of the expenses for these meetings to. The training is the one where those match up. So you'll see those are exactly the same.
what page is training on?
Top of page 4.
Page 4.
So there's $2,500, no, there's $9,900 for training, and then there's $11,800 for travel?
Yeah, and there's a breakdown for that. That's all the meeting expenses. That's the meeting expenses.
That
For
means the meals.
all the meals.
And it's inappropriately titled as travel, but that's how it is.
It's been like that for,
We didn't set that title. That title's in the system that the city offers us.
that's the way it's been charged since I've been here.
Okay. I mean, what would it take to change that where it doesn't look out of line?
Yeah, we'll discuss that with financing to see if there's a way we can re-channel that to make it to where we have a different title on
You
it.
talking about the city?
Yeah, this is theirs. This
No, I
is the
thought-
city's.
Yeah, the
Right.
city's.
Yeah.
And then my other question was on contract services, legal services, we had an increase of up to $24,100. We've had a offer from the city attorney's office to, he now has somebody with planning experience on staff and has offered to provide that service to us without, going outside for that. And I think that's something we should definitely consider,
I wasn't aware of that.
the best use of the,
Well, the
Wasn't aware of
the
that.
reason
Yeah.
we went outside was the city attorney at the time asked us to. So that was recommended by her.
yeah.
Because there can be a conflict between, if the city and the NPC have an issue in conflict, I can't imagine that happening. Then the city attorney is in a position, in a difficult position. And this happened when Terry Scott was city attorney, and she just said, I am not gonna be able to advise you on this. And so we were left stuck. So that's the whole problem.
Okay. I mean, I just wanted to bring that up because he said that to us before. You know, that's certainly a way we could say, but is there a reason why there was an increase in that?
Well, 24,100 is what was budgeted for 2017, and that's what we're budgeting for 2018. We didn't increase that for 2018.
The estimated amount of what we may spend this year
Yeah.
as opposed to what we actually budgeted, it's the same budget.
Budget adopted budget from 2017.
Budget amount's exactly the same.
Right, we didn't increase the budget amount.
Okay, that's all the questions I had.
All right. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor of the adoption of the budget, vote yes. All opposed, no. All right, passes. The next item on our agenda is number 18, which is UDC zoning map report and recommended policy. It says a report. We have a printed report in
Yes.
in our binder. I'd like to offer for you the recommended policy and ask your disposition on the recommended policy. I propose MPC policy for affected property owners with reference to zoning changes, downgrades, or upgrades, whatever the case may be. The change in zoning would be that any property owner at the time of the UDC implementation, which is May 15, 2017, that had property downzoned to another zoning classification as a result of such implementation, has 12 months from the introduction of this policy, August 2nd, which would be today, 2017 to August 2nd, 2018, to submit an application at no charge for MPC board reconsideration. The MPC board shall evaluate each request on a case-by-case basis in order to make a recommendation to City Council. Be advised, the MPC staff may suggest an alternative UDC zoning classification for the property if the property warrants such a recommendation. Please note that this proposed policy, once approved by the MPC board, will be posted on the MPC website in order to inform the public of this opportunity. This is the recommended or proposed MPC policy for attempting to redress or to address affected property owners who may have been inadvertently downzoned in the UDC process.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. Mr. Young.
I would like to propose 2 amendments to that. I would like to extend the time frame from 12 months to 24 months and extend the dates because it only applies to affected properties. It doesn't affect anyone else. It only applies to affected properties. And some language in here talks about an outreach campaign where we, media or whatever, to try to let people know that where they can go check on the map to see if, because I think it's all done interactively.